Budget Secretary Butch Abad assures that the proposed 2016 national outlay will not be used to benefit administration candidates in the coming elections. For the full report, here's Freddie Abando.
Congress is again on track to approve the proposed 2016 national budget of 3.002 trillion pesos by mid-December. It's the fifth budget measure of the Aquino administration. Not one was ever reenacted since 2010. When sessions resume in early November, the House-approved budget, with a few amendments, will undergo scrutiny in plenary before the Senate. Approval will follow. Then both houses reconcile their versions. The President is expected to sign the General Appropriations Act before the Christmas break.
If you are to look into why the country has been progressive in the manner that it has been for the past 5 years, one of those reasons is the way we have managed the budget, the executive and the legislature working very closely to get a good budget passed on time.
Since 2016 is an election year, the budget will be obligated starting January, since the election ban will start in February. This early the bidding process has started. Awards will be completed before the end of the year.
We were quite aware of the narrow period that's available next year for the because the key word here is obligation. Because once the project is obligated, then the execution can proceed even during the period of ban. So we were even more strict, and I think we were able to get the cooperation of the legislators because they themselves would want projects in their respective districts implemented before the ban sets in. So we were able to get the key programs of government, especially infrastructure, prepared ahead of time so that we have disaggregated the budgets of agencies so that even as after we submitted the National Expenditure Program, even as they were deliberating on the budget, the process of procurement could already start, and in fact it did. So that by the time the budget takes effect, the first working day of January, then we can begin the process of completing the obligation process through the issuance of notices of awards.
Budget Secretary Florencio Abad dismissed claims that the 2016 national budget will be used to benefit candidates of the administration for the May 2016 polls, since every member of both houses of Congress, local government officials from governors to mayors, and even barangay officials will receive their just share of the budget. This applies to all, administration or opposition.
Have you been hearing them complain that we are using the budget for election purposes? We are not, because we've been very fair to them. Just made sure that we follow the budget priorities framework, both the sectoral as well as geographical priorities. And it's been that way since we started. And the politicians and local government officials, they are themselves surprised why we treat them with respect. And, we do not force them to change their parties or to come to Malacanang and beg for their money.
A major hallmark of the budget is the record allocation for social protection, 62.3 billion pesos for the conditional cash transfer program, investments in health and social housing, and most of all, education, with a proposed budget of 435 billion pesos for the full implementation of the K-12 education program next year.
Social protection and social services program. That's basically CCT, the basic education, public health, and social housing. Those are important programs that will make a significant dent on the poverty problem. Of course, the employment and livelihood generation activities coming from the infrastructure projects and the livelihood programs of the SWD, DTI, and the Department of Agriculture are also going to make a dent in terms of reducing further the unemployment problem, which has already reached levels lowest in the past 10 years.
Investments in infrastructure development will hit 5% of the country's gross domestic product, with significant gains from public-private partnerships. Next year's budget has more resources for the comprehensive rehabilitation and reconstruction program of Yolanda-devastated areas, especially for housing.
The resources continue to be, flowing into those areas, but it takes a while. Since the two biggest programs are housing, both emergency. There are 3 stages to permanent housing: emergency, transitional, and permanent.
For the People's Television Network, this is Freddie Abando reporting.